Imagine filming a horror movie and experiencing real-life tragedies. The set of The Exorcist was blessed by a priest after multiple accidents occurred, including fires and untimely deaths, making this film as frightening behind the scenes as it is on screen. Number 30. Superman, 1959, 1978 to 1987. Is Superman more than just a fictional hero? What if the role came with a deadly price for its actors? The Superman curse refers to violent tragedies for actors who played the famous DC Comics character. The curse was initiated when George Reeves played Superman in the 1950s television series The Adventures of Superman. In 1959, Reeves died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The curse continued with Christopher Reeves, who played Superman in the late 70s and 80s in 4 classic Superman films. In addition, Reeves suffered a horse riding injury that left him paralyzed from the neck down. The 2 terrible tragedies involving the Superman lead actors created the urban legend of the Superman curse, but many other actors have played the iconic character in television and film without injury. Number 29. The Exorcist, 1973. Could a movie about demonic possession invite real-life horror onto its set? The Exorcist certainly made its cast believe it. The Exorcist is considered one of the most frightening horror movies in history, but the set of The Exorcist had its own share of terror. While anything can go wrong during a movie's production, events seem to go especially wrong during a horror movie's production. The movie about a young girl experiencing demonic possession suffered production delays after an unexpected fire burned down the set. The one part of the set that reportedly survived the fire was the young girl's bedroom, where the exorcism occurs. Ellen Burstyn also suffered a back injury on set that left her on crutches for the rest of the film's production. These dangerous events led to an actual priest blessing the film set. Unfortunately, the blessing did not extend past the film shoot as 2 actors, Jack McGowan, who plays a film director, and Vilisiki Maliaros, who plays Father Karras' mom, both died just before the film's release. Number 28. The Omen, 1976. Is it possible that a film about the Antichrist could summon real-world disaster? The Omen's production says yes. This horror flick focuses on young Damien, an odd child who is quiet and a bit unsettling to those around him. As time goes on and Damien gets older, those around him begin to realize that supernatural forces are swirling about the boy, and they're not benevolent. Even before filming started, star Gregory Peck's plane was struck by lightning en route. Then, the on-set animal trainer was mauled by a tiger. Creepiest of all, a couple of months after the film premiered, special effects assistant Liz Moore was decapitated in a car accident 66.6 kilometers from a town in the Netherlands named Omen. Number 27. London After Midnight, 1927. What happens when a film nearly vanishes from existence? Could it be that the movie itself is cursed? London After Midnight is not widely known, and there's a reason for it. It gained the status of being cursed primarily because the film is largely lost. The silent horror production, directed by Todd Browning and released in 1927, is known for its eerie atmosphere and unique aesthetics. However, almost all of the footage is lost, and there are no known copies of it today. The abandoned house of a wealthy man who supposedly committed suicide 5 years earlier is taken over by macabre figures. Could they be vampires? Describes the official synopsis. The loss of the title has contributed to the perception of the legend, as film enthusiasts and historians have searched for decades without success for a complete copy. Some have speculated that the disappearance is the result of a curse. Number 26. Brainstorm, 1973. Could a film with dark, supernatural themes be more than just entertainment? Brainstorm had many believing it was truly cursed. This 1973 film, based on a novel by Peter Blatty, shocked audiences with its depiction of a young girl possessed by a demon and the efforts of a Catholic priest to save her. The dark subject matter led to reports of a film curse. Controversy surrounded the film upon its release, since many believed it exerted a demonic influence on audiences. Number 25. Stalker, 1978. Imagine working on a film so dangerous it nearly kills the entire cast and crew. Stalker became that nightmare. Russian director Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker is one of the most thought-provoking sci-fi films ever made. But during production, the cast and crew might have just been thinking about whether or not it would actually see completion. The film had to be reshot twice, with different cinematographers. The extended shoot also took place at abandoned hydropower plants. Deaths of multiple production members, including Tarkovsky, are attributed to toxic chemicals in the area. Though it took some time for it to achieve recognition as such, Stalker is now widely regarded as a cinematic masterpiece. Nonetheless, it's still a shame that getting it made was such an ordeal, with potentially fatal consequences. Number 24. The Conqueror, 1956. Could filming at a nuclear test site curse an entire film crew? The Conqueror makes a chilling case. The Conqueror is a pseudo-biographical film about famed Mongol leader Genghis Khan. Made in 1956, it features some horrendously racist makeup and casting in lead actor John Wayne, but that's not why people consider it cursed. The curse on this film set seems to come from completely explainable or at least human-made circumstances. Filmed in Snow Canyon, Utah, the production was downwind from a site where 11 atomic explosives had been tested. By 1980, 24 years after production, 46 members of the cast and crew had succumbed to cancer. Number 23. A Bell from Hell, 1973. Could a film be haunted by the personal tragedies of its director? That's exactly what happened with A Bell from Hell. A Bell from Hell is a Spanish horror film directed by Claudio Guerin in 1973 that has achieved considerable success internationally and has been regarded as one of the most popular within the genre. However, one of the many curiosities surrounding the production is that it was considered cursed by many, especially due to the tragedies that befell its team, particularly the director. The disturbing and dark nature of the film, involving themes of madness and revenge, captured the attention of hundreds of viewers. During the filming of the movie, there were several accidents on set that resulted in injuries to crew members. Additionally, Guerin suffered a personal tragedy with the death of his daughter before the completion of the production. All these events contributed to the film earning the reputation of being cursed. Number 22. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, 2005. Could a ghostly encounter haunt an actress long after the camera stopped rolling? The Exorcism of Emily Rose star thinks so. The Exorcism of Emily Rose's lead star, Jennifer Carpenter, says she was haunted by a ghost that seemed to have a taste for the musical. She told Dread Central that while she was working on the 2005 film, a radio would continually turn on by itself whenever she got home. Number 21. Incubus, 1966. What if a film in a made-up language still brought real horror? The tragic fates of the Incubus cast raised that question. Prior to his leading role on Star Trek, William Shatner headlined this horror film, distinct for all the dialogue being in the Esperanto language. But while Shatner went on to great fame, other cast members experienced much grimmer fates. Actor Milos Milos, who played the titular demon, killed Mickey Rooney's estranged wife, Barbara Ann Thomason, who he was seeing at the time, before taking his own life. Actress Ann Atmar also took her own life, less than 2 weeks before the film's premiere. And the teenage daughter of actress Eloise Hart was brutally killed 2 years later. As with other films on this list, the eerie occurrences surrounding this film might make it too difficult to watch. Number 20. The Crow, 1994. What if a movie about a character returning from the dead brings real-life tragedy? That's exactly what happened on The Crow set. The Crow's curse is due to the death of its star, Brandon Lee. The movie is about a man returning from the dead who encountered the worst accident during production. Brandon Lee, the son of famous martial artist Bruce Lee, was killed on set after a bullet in a prop gun was fired and mortally wounded the actor. Number 19. The Wizard of Oz. This classic movie holds a sinister rumor involving a cast member's tragic end. Could The Wizard of Oz be cursed? The classic story of Dorothy Gale's trip to the magical land of Oz is a well-known film and children's book. One rumor that has grown around the production is that of a cast member who hung himself on set and can be seen in one of the film sequences. While this rumor turned out to be false, many on-set catastrophes led to the film feeling cursed. Two actors in the film, original Tin Man Buddy Ebsen and Wicked Witch Margaret Hamilton, suffered greatly from the makeup used to cover much of their skin while on film. Hamilton also suffered second-degree burns when a trapdoor failed to open to allow her to escape some pyrotechnics. Number 18. Waterworld, 1995. Could a disastrous production set on water bring misfortune to everyone involved? Waterworld certainly fits that bill. Water set films, even incredibly successful ones like Jaws and Titanic, can undergo extremely difficult productions. Bad pre-release buzz led this Kevin Costner action movie to being deemed a flop before its release due to its then record-high budget. However, unlike Titanic, it didn't exactly bring in massive box office revenue. It also underwent a particularly rough production process. Much of it was actually shot in the Pacific Ocean, and a hurricane destroyed the elaborate set. Multiple actors nearly died during filming, including Costner. Unsurprisingly, many crew members, including director Kevin Reynolds, quit. For multiple reasons, nobody was clamoring to make a Waterworld 2. Number 17. Psycho, 1960. Did you know that Psycho's cast faced a real-life terror off-screen? The shocking truth will send chills down your spine. Myra Jones, a.k.a. Myra Davis, was the uncredited body double stand-in for Psycho star Janet Leigh during the making of Hitchcock's 1960 film. A handyman named Kenneth Dean Hunt, who was supposedly a Hitchcock obsessive, murdered her. Number 16. Guinea Pig, Flower of Flesh and Blood, 1985. Could a horror movie inspire real-life atrocities? The guinea pig films are infamous for their gruesome realism. Created by artist Hideshi Hino based on his own manga series, the guinea pig movies feature the same kind of faux documentary feel as something like Faces of Death or Cannibal Holocaust, and they're legendary among hardcore horror fans. Without any real plot to speak of beyond Psycho kidnaps women and dismembers them in gruesome fashion while dressed as a samurai, the movies do feel less like a story and more like some forbidden home video. That said, two incidents led it to a particular air of menace. One is that a copy of Flower and Flesh and Blood was sent to the FBI by Charlie Sheen. Yes, Charlie Sheen, because he was convinced it was an actual snuff film. It wasn't, and all the deaths and butchery were faked. The other is that a copy of the film was found in the home of a man named Sumoto Miyazaki, a cannibalistic serial killer known as the Otaku Murderer, who was behind the kidnapping and murder of 4 young girls between 1988 and 1989 in Japan. The film was believed to have inspired him. Number 15. Atuk. Could a film script be so cursed that it is yet to be made after 40 years? That's Atuk for you. Unlike other cursed films that completed production, Atuk, Inuit for grandfather, and its curse have remained in development for 40 years. The unfilmed American comedy is based on the novel The Incomparable Atuk and is about an Inuit hunter who ends up in the big city. Urban legend claims that the film is cursed due to the deaths of many actors who have shown interest in the lead role. Some of those actors include John Belushi, John Candy, Chris Farley, and Sam Kinison. While these actors suffered all too soon deaths, one could also attribute Belushi, Farley, and Kinison's death to substance abuse before their interest in this unmade film. Number 14. Apocalypse Now, 1979. Could the chaos and darkness of war movies seep into real life? Apocalypse Now is a troubling example. Francis Ford Coppola's infamous battle film is based on the short novel Heart of Darkness by author Joseph Conrad. The dark, psychological depths that the story explores seem to have spilled over into the film's production, as can be seen in the documentary about its making, Hearts of Darkness. Nature takes credit for some of the trouble on this cursed production. Filmed during monsoon season, floods and heavy winds destroyed many parts of the set. What's more, star Martin Sheen suffered a heart attack while on set, and director Coppola suffered a seizure brought on by the stress of the production. Number 13. Maximum Overdrive. What if a horror movie production itself turns into a nightmare? Maximum Overdrive was plagued with mishaps and near tragedies. You always felt like someone was going to die on this set, actor Laura Harrington said about Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. The cursed film saw near-death experiences for cameramen and stuntmen, as well as a hurricane, which hit the set during production. Camera assistant Sylvia Giuletti would later say, "Every day we had security because the movie was a very dangerous movie." Number 12. Snuff, 1976. Could a movie with the word snuff in the title be more than just a title? This one ignited a media frenzy. The concept of a snuff film, a movie depicting an actual murder, basically started in 1971 when Ed Sanders, the author of a book about the Manson family, asserted that Charles Manson and his followers had filmed their killing spree. No footage was ever found. Then, just a few years later in 1976, husband and wife directors Michael and Roberta Finley made a cheap exploitation film called Slaughter about an actress and her director who are murdered by a Manson family-esque clan in South America. Grindhouse film distributor Alan Shackleton bought the film, changed the title to Snuff, and released it under the pretense that it depicted the real murder of the main actress. The tagline was filmed in South America, where life is cheap. This kick-started an obsession with snuff films, although none have never been conclusively unearthed. Number 11. Faces of Death, 1978. Could a film become a legend based solely on rumors of real death footage? Faces of Death shocked viewers like no other. Just as the Blair Witch Project came along at the perfect time to take advantage of the early internet, the legend of Faces of Death is largely a product of the early 1980s VHS boom. Before Blockbuster, video stores were small, often seedy mom-and-pop stores, and Faces of Death was one of those creepy little oddities you'd find on one of the dust-covered shelves. Allegedly depicting real deaths, it served as a badge of honor for anyone who is actually able to get a hold of a copy and watch it. Although the film does contain some real footage, like newsreel clips from an accident where you can see paramedics cleaning up the remains of a cyclist who had been struck and killed by a truck, it was almost entirely faked by writer and director John Allen Schwartz. Yes, even the infamous scene where a table full of diners appear to kill a trapped monkey and then eat its brains. Number 10. Rosemary's Baby. Could a film about a satanic cult lead to real-life tragedy? Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby proved terrifying both on and off screen. Filmmaker Roman Polanski's personal tragedy after Rosemary's Baby is possibly more famous than the film itself. Rosemary's Baby is about a pregnant young woman who suspects her elderly neighbors of being part of a satanic cult that wishes to harm her baby. The film received rave reviews, but was overshadowed by an event eerily similar to another rising cult in the late 1960s, the Manson family. The Manson family members followed Charles Manson, a man they believed to be a manifestation of Jesus Christ. While initially immersed in hippie culture, the cult turned violent after increased drug use and an obsession with Hollywood. A year after Rosemary's Baby was released, the Manson family broke into Polanski's house while he was away. They brutally murdered 5 people residing in the house, including Polanski's pregnant wife and Hollywood star, Sharon Tate. The high-profile murders shocked the world. Some believe Rosemary's Baby to be cursed in its creepy similarities to cult and pregnancy, but one of the murderers claimed that they simply wanted to make national headlines. Number 9. Fitzcarraldo, 1982. Could moving a massive steamship over a hill in real life lead to a deadly curse? Fitzcarraldo found out the hard way. The film, from legendary director Werner Herzog, tells the tale of a crew that has to somehow move a huge steamship up and over a hill. Filmed on location in Peru, the production was a hugely troubled one. Original star Jason Robards had to be replaced early on due to him contracting dysentery while on set. Herzog brought in Klaus Kinski, an erratic actor whose on-set behavior caused much trouble. Further, Herzog actually had a steamship moved over a hill during production, which led to the deaths of numerous extras, and to one crew member having to amputate his own foot after a snake bite. Number 8. Ghost, 1990. Could a beloved child star haunt a film set after her tragic death? The crew of Ghost believe they heard her footsteps. Okay, Ghost may not be scary, but one of the biggest Hollywood urban legends goes that Poltergeist child star Heather O'Rourke haunted the 1990s film set. Crew members claimed to have continually heard the footsteps of an unseen figure, as well as a child laughing. The film was shot on the same soundstage where O'Rourke had filmed scenes as a child actor. Number 7. The Amityville Horror, 1979. Could a film about a haunted house bring real terror to its cast? The truth about the Amityville Horror is chilling. Inspired by a true story that has been the subject of controversy and much legal drama, the Amityville Horror is based on the paranormal experiences of the Lutz family after moving into a reportedly haunted house on 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. Prior to moving into the Dutch colonial with ocular windows, previous resident Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed his entire family. The Lutzes claim they were forced out of the home by an evil entity that terrorized them. A popular book was written, which was adapted for film in 1979. The ghostly aura surrounding the real-life tale pervaded the set, but much of that has been dismissed as invention to drum up publicity. Star James Brolin, who didn't believe in the Lutz's story, experienced a fright while studying the novel for the film. Initially hesitant to take the part, he agreed to do it after his pants fell from the hanger, causing him to jump and nearly crash his head through the ceiling. Number 6. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Could a film so brutal lead to its director being accused of murder? Cannibal Holocaust caused an uproar with its intense realism. Not long after Snuff, another film came under fire for allegedly depicting actual murders, and it was an early example of found footage horror to boot. This Italian cult movie was built around the idea that it was footage discovered after an American film crew disappeared from the Amazon rainforest and were killed and eaten by indigenous cannibals. The gore was so intense and realistic that after a few days after the movie's premiere, Italian authorities confiscated the film. Director Ruggero Deodato was charged with obscenity, and he was eventually slapped with a murder charge when it was suggested Cannibal Holocaust was, in fact, a snuff film. Although it was later proven that none of the actors were killed or harmed, the film does depict scenes of intense animal cruelty that were real. Fun fact, the fake documentary the crew was working on was called The Green Inferno, which would be the title adopted by director Eli Roth for his 2013 homage to Cannibal Holocaust. Number 5. Twilight Zone, the movie, 1983. Could a tragic accident during filming haunt the movie's legacy forever? Twilight Zone, the movie, holds one of the darkest Hollywood secrets. Twilight Zone, the movie set accident is one of the most tragic in film history. The movie was meant to be a tribute to the 1960s television series and had significant talent behind the scenes. Steven Spielberg, George Miller, Joe Dante, and John Landis directed 4 different segments for the film, with Spielberg and Landis also serving as producers of Twilight Zone, the movie. Unfortunately, while the film was intended to honor the Twilight Zone series, it became its own cautionary tale. Landis' segment, Time Out, starred Vic Morrow as a prejudiced man who gets taken back in time to experience the historical dangers of prejudice. One particular scene calls for Morrow's character to rescue two children from a helicopter chasing after them. Unfortunately, during filming, the helicopter crew flew so close to the ground that it spun out of control, decapitating Morrow and one of the child actors and crushing the other child to death. Landis and the segment producers were criticized for illegally hiring child actors and utilizing them in such a dangerous scene. While Landis avoided a conviction for manslaughter, Spielberg ended his working relationship with Landis after the incident. Number 4. Rebel Without a Cause. Could a classic film lead to the tragic, untimely deaths of its stars? Rebel Without a Cause carries that haunting legacy. Rebel Without a Cause is a cinematic classic, but the James Dean film also carries the title of being cursed due to the premature deaths of its three main stars. The coming-of-age drama featured James Dean, Sal Mineo, and Natalie Wood as teenage outcasts who bonded in a world with parents and leaders that didn't understand them. Rebel Without a Cause was praised for its portrayal of clashing generational values and each of its lead performances, but the stars never got to see the full legacy of their film. The most horrific aspect of each star's premature death is the violent nature of their demise. Dean died in a head-on car collision a month before the film's release. In the 1970s, Mineo was stabbed to death by a mugger outside his apartment. The most mysterious death was Natalie Wood's, who reportedly drowned while on a boat trip with her husband, Robert Wagner, and friend, Christopher Walken. Wood's floating body was found a mile from the boat, but the autopsy also showed bruises on her. Wagner claimed Wood and he had had an argument that night, but maintained he had no part in her death. Number 3. The Misfits, 1961. Did you know that this movie marked the end for Hollywood legends Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable? The curse is hard to ignore. John Huston's 1961 American Western, The Misfits, centers on a divorcee who falls for an aging cowboy struggling to maintain his romance-free lifestyle in the northern Nevada desert in 1960. The picture famously stars Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, and Montgomery Clift, and was based on the screenplay by Arthur Miller, Monroe's husband at the time. Production was plagued by 100-degree Fahrenheit heat, constant script revisions, and the breakdown of the playwright and movie star's marriage. Despite not being a commercial success upon release, The Misfits was critically lauded for its gifted leads performances and unique script. Despite such a warm reception, the Western's reputation was marred by the deaths of its three beloved stars, each of which died shortly after production was completed. The King of Hollywood, Clark Gable, died on November 16, 1960, at the age of 59 from a heart attack, just 12 days after finishing The Misfits. Though the silver screen legend had been an avid smoker since his teenage years, his wife, Kay Williams, believed the film's intense production and on-set tension was a big factor in his death. The blonde bombshell Marilyn Monroe notoriously hated the picture, having disliked Miller based the role partly on her life as well as his frustrating constant rewrites. The 20th century pop culture icon died from an accidental barbiturate overdose on August 4, 1962, a year and a half after filming. The Misfits was both her and Gable's last completed film. Montgomery Clift passed away just 6 years later, on July 23, 1966, from a heart attack, among other health issues. His live-in personal secretary, Lorenzo James, revealed that The Misfits was on television the night he passed and asked if he would like to watch, to which Clift firmly replied, "Absolutely not." Number 2. The Blair Witch Project, 1999. Did you know this indie horror film blurred the line between fiction and reality? The legend of the Blair Witch Project lives on. Horror is a great way for young talents to break into the business because, often, what you don't see is scarier than what you do. So it's a godsend for indie filmmakers with more creativity than budget. The Blair Witch Project came at about exactly the right time. Exploiting the still nascent World Wide Web, it managed to cultivate its own urban legend of supposedly lost cam footage that was recovered after a group of young filmmakers went missing. The conceit of it being filmed on the fly covered over the fact that you don't really see much of anything and the clever use of sound effects and the overall naturalistic performances by the lead actors made you think, just for a second, that maybe this was the real deal. Of course, Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 came out around a year later to confirm that, yes, this was indeed just a cheesy horror franchise at its core. Number 1. Poltergeist, 1982. What if using real skeletons on set brings a curse that's all too real? The tragedy of Poltergeist is unforgettable. Poltergeist continues to be a horror staple and encapsulates 80s suburbia while delivering constant chills. But the most chilling part of Poltergeist is what happened behind the scenes. The Poltergeist set is infamous for using real human skeletons in its memorable reveal that the Freeling family's house was on a native burial ground. The irony is that many believe that the film's use of real skeletons caused the Poltergeist curse and premature deaths of the film's actors. Dominique Dunne, who played the family's eldest daughter, Dana, was murdered by an abusive ex-boyfriend 5 months after Poltergeist's premiere. The film's youngest and arguably most iconic star, Heather O'Rourke, shockingly died of a cardiac arrest at 12 after an unknown genetic intestinal issue. While the film continues to find new horror audiences each year, Poltergeist's story is now synonymous with its unfortunate deaths. O'Rourke may have passed, but her delivery of the famous line, "They're here," lives on in cinema forever. If you enjoyed diving into the eerie world of Hollywood curses, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more captivating tales from the film industry. Check out our other videos for more intriguing stories and chilling facts.